Welcome into the Sick'em 365 post-game show. I'm Paul Catalina alongside Garrett Ross. Baylor falls to Texas 38-6. Could not muster a touchdown in this game, even though they recovered 2 muffed punts. Texas looked really good for long stretches of this game, and they looked like the number 3 team in the country for long stretches of this game, Garrett. It should not be a surprise to anyone that Texas won this game. You and I, picked it to be a blowout. It wasn't as bad as obviously we picked it.
Right, yeah.
But say for some muff punts, it got pretty close to being that. And this is a Baylor team that has got to find some sort of identity really soon.
Yeah, I mean, it's really disheartening when you still see the same things, right? Like there's a lack of energy at times. I think you saw more of some more juice tonight, more so out of the younger players. I think they did a good job. Baylor did a really good job of stretching the field because to me, and this was one of my keys to the game, was once Blake Shapen went out, man, they haven't really been able to do anything in the passing game. When you got players like Keytron Jackson and, Monterey Baldwin's kind of been hit or miss. I really don't know what to make of him. Even tonight, he made like 1 or 2 plays, but that, they did take an opportunity. They stretched the field. They got the passing game going, which helped some with the rushing attack, but there was just in the trenches, man, they couldn't get any pressure. And ultimately that's what really did them in. And, hats off to Sawyer Robertson for playing the way he did. Unfortunately, you could still say he's banged up, but they've got to keep him healthy, man.
Yeah, he's banged up. I think Blake Shapen will play next week against UCF, or at least they're gonna proceed as that's the case. And look, he wasn't ready to play. You don't play him this week, and it doesn't, to me, make sense to play him in a game where your offensive line was so clearly overmatched.
Yeah.
And then potentially make a situation worse. So there are a lot of things that went on in this game that, just kind of show you where Baylor is. It shows you where Texas is, too, in that they had their scare last week and then came out this week and a minor scare.
Well, all right, so the thing that bugged me all last week with hearing people talk about that was I have seen this so many times as somebody who's followed like the SEC as my favorite team is in the SEC. So I can't tell you how many years I've seen teams play Bama, go into Bama, and you exert all your energy because you have to leave every ounce of that to even keep it remotely close, right? So it's natural for teams to have a letdown like Texas did last week after playing Bama. I mean, I've seen it for years, so I didn't put as much into that as a lot of people made it out to be. But I think Texas did a good job of bouncing back tonight and righting the ship. And Baylor, I mean, it's still the same, man. I'm not sure.
Well, look, these numbers. Sawyer Robertson was 20 of 35 for 203 and an interception. R.J. Martinez in mop-up duty, 9 of 18 for 102. And then they ran the ball for 60 total yards.
And most of it came on that second run? Well, that long run by Pendergrass, right?
R.J. Martinez had 22 yards. 25 of it came on 2 carries of the 60. So, Sawyer Robertson had 10. So 35 of it came on 3 different carries. And then they didn't, 31 carries for 60 yards, less than 2 yards a carry. And that's factoring in sacks as well. 254-339-1122. 254-339-1122. Call in. Let us know your thoughts on the game. And, the chat room so far is not great. Tony Florio asked, y'all think there should be a coaching change? And
no,
I don't think, I don't think that they are to that point yet. I think there are, because he won the conference just 2 years ago, Dave Aranda is going to get every chance to get it right, but he is going to have to, they've missed on some guys.
Yes.
Clearly. And because of that, they're a little bit behind the 8 ball right now. And there's just still that energy at times. But again, they couldn't sustain it. And I think part of the reason they couldn't sustain it is that the talent gap was enormous, Garrett.
Yeah, I see. As far as Aranda goes, I do not. I don't understand. I mean, look, I do understand the frustration given it is year 4 and it looks like you have taken a step back. Like generally you have. And I understand that. But we've seen for so long, looking at Baylor, and it's really in particular their football program, they wanted a guy who wanted to be there. They wanted that next Grant Taft to put in your roots and Aranda is literally almost everything you could ask for that they've been wanting, right?
Yeah.
And if you look at this team right now, coming into this game, you had played, what was it, 19? You had 19 freshmen that had played, and I believe like 20 new starters. And if you look at the nucleus of the team right now, it's all those young guys, and those are the guys that Aranda recruited. The older guys who aren't necessarily making the plays, and you can get into whether that should have been a decision where you said your 6-year guys, thank you, be on your way, let's go. But I think if you make a coaching change right now, when you see a lot of the young talent in the transfer portal era, if a lot of those guys don't hit the portal and you do bring a new coach in, how are their skill set going to match with the scheme of the new coach? And it's just set you back even further.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
Yeah, I think you need to let him reassess, and that there needs to be a full top-down reassessment of that. But yeah, you're going to have guys in the portal, and look, they probably need some guys to go in the portal.
They definitely
quite
do.
Honestly.
Yes,
because here's sometimes. And that can be a good thing for everybody, right? It's going to force the coaches to have to really evaluate what's in the portal, what they can get, who they can develop, because they took 12 guys this year. And that, to me, I think 12 guys in a normal year is probably what you need to do.
Right.
But when you are, because again, I don't know if they've misassessed where their roster was the last 2 seasons, I think, and that's put them behind.
It has, and I also think it's still trying to navigate and figure out how to navigate the transfer portal, because I think it's different at places like Baylor or Stanford. You could name a handful of schools, and I feel like they're still trying to. Aranda is a guy who I feel like he has a lot of faith. The connection he makes with people, I think it means a lot to him, and that sometimes I feel like the person aspect. I feel like maybe he doesn't want to upset somebody or feel like he's causing a friction in a relationship or, letting something down on his end. And that's kind of led to where they're at right now. But yeah, I mean, I think if you look, you went and got 12 this year, which was significantly better than the year before, but it still hasn't worked out. It still hasn't clicked. Maybe the third time's the charm. I mean, I'm trying to find the silver lining in this here.
No, because they were just overmatched, and Texas looks like a team that is going to contend for the conference title and probably the college football.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, they look really, really good. And we'll see. I have not seen, I'll tell you, I've watched every single team in the top 10 multiple times this year. Mm-hmm. And we're seeing this because of the transfer portal, because of the way things are. Look, Georgia's really good. But
they're vulnerable.
They're not as good as they have been. Michigan is really good, but they're not as good as, say, Georgia was a year ago, right? Where they were just throwing everybody but one team into two teams into the wood chipper. Texas is good, but they're vulnerable. Florida State's good, but vulnerable. So you can go on down the list. So parity is coming in college football, maybe faster than people realize it. But Baylor needs to catch up, because as good as Texas was, as much talent as they have, at Baylor, you're 2 years out of a conference title game. You should have been able to match them a little bit better than you did.
You should have, but at the same time, I feel like there are a lot of teams, in particular in the Big 12 itself. I think you could hone in on who are in the same situation as Baylor and are going to have the same faith when they go up against Texas. I just feel like Baylor's in a position where you just got to be patient. You got to let it grow, because there is talent. You see the flashes. There are talent there, and before anybody comes out here waving the flag for R.J. Martinez because he threw 100 yards in fourth quarter, understand the situation of that, right? But I think ultimately, once you get Blake Shapen back and you get the offensive line to give him a little more time, the offense is going to come to its own. And as the schedule goes on for Baylor, you're going to have more opportunities to win games. I think they're going to be okay. But once I think it also helps that your offensive line, if you look across the Big 12 right now, Cincinnati's got a pretty good defense, right? I think Cincinnati's going to be able to bring some pressure. Kansas State will as well. But overall, they're not going to face anybody again, like especially with a front seven like they have with Texas and Utah. And I think that could be to their benefit as they continue to go forward.
Yeah. So, like there are so many issues, right? So LG, yes, I saw what you said. I'm just listing them as a group of people, but thanks for being so fun. He told me he didn't care about Florida State, but anyway. But yeah, I mean, look, there's nobody, like, my point in that was there's nobody in this particular college football season that is bowl you over spectacular.
No, not at all.
Alabama, had a big win today, but they've not looked great. Like there's all these, they took the loss to Texas earlier. Everybody's going to struggle. The SEC West is actually wide open.
Yeah,
like all these things are going on. So to me, there's just no reason for Baylor to have this talent gap with Texas. Now, I'm not saying that there shouldn't be a talent gap given what Texas has been doing and like the amount of money they've been spending on NIL and how aggressive they've gotten in getting guys like Adonai Mitchell, who didn't even have to really factor in tonight, and Sanders and all the guys that they brought in.
Yeah.
Quinn Ewers, all.
Isaiah Nayor, who doesn't play.
Yeah. So all the guys they brought in, yes. But because Baylor has those same tools they can use, maybe not to the frequency that Texas can, but they did not a year ago. And I think that's where you see the gap, is that the players that should have been, that were like redshirt freshmen in the wrong spot, or
right,
sophomores in the wrong spot that could have come in and contributed to this team because in 2022 they didn't get in the portal. That's what's hurting them now, because those guys would be they needed the Mike Smith Juniors from Liberty that were in the portal this year, last year. They need to go get those guys.
Right,
and they didn't, and I think that's what's hurting them now. All right, 2 calls. Let's go to the 832 and Dudley. Dudley, thank you for your call.
Yeah, I was just listening to you guys talk about it. I mean, you talk about the players that Dave Aranda has. It's his players. They're getting into the system. They're getting playing time. But again, we look at Matt Rule's 2017 year, 1-11. I mean, that team played with grit, that heart. The recruiting class was not there for Matt Rule. The shelf was cleared, and he came in, and they competed in games. Talk about Oklahoma at home, where we almost pulled that off. There was games where they were in every game. And I was talking to someone else tonight that was there in 2017, and we didn't leave games early. The last year Kansas State game and tonight were the first games that I have left early, and I felt nothing. I didn't feel angry, and I didn't feel upset, and that's an issue with this team. There's no energy, there's no juice, and something has to change. And you talked about the transfer portal, the new age. We have the resource to do that as well. We're just not utilizing it like other schools. And I think something needs to change, because no one wants to show up and watch that week after week and hear, I appreciate the question in every press conference. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thank you for your call, Dudley. And look, yeah, they're going to have to change their strategy when it comes to building the modern roster. Because I honestly do think that if you wanted me to point to the biggest thing other than misassessing some of the guys, the young guys, the high school players that they signed, other than that, I would say that not filling those gaps in the transfer portal better, has hurt them. Because you look around, TCU had to make a whole new team this year, right?
Yeah.
And they did most of that out of the transfer portal, and they look, they got one loss to the upstart team of all upstart teams
without any film.
Without any film, and they lost by 3 points.
Yeah. I don't know how much of that is the assessment of the player all the way around to fit the person over player mentality and culture established. I don't know if maybe there's an intersect there where things aren't aligning, and maybe it's I don't know, because to me that's one of those things when I understand it, and I think it's beautiful. Honestly, I think it's one of the best things to have, that person over player philosophy. But at the same time, I don't know realistically how that translates into modern football. And I feel like that might be an issue. I'm not sure, though. I could be wrong.
There might be a thing of he hasn't applied it in the right direction totally yet.
That could be it. That's probably better wording.
Yeah, he's probably not put it because it's a really cool thing.
I think it's great, honestly.
But yeah, but also he's the only one doing it.
No,
but he's trying to blaze new trail here.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. Is like I don't understand. I'm confused with all this when it comes to trying to assess the program, where it needs to be, where it should be, with what the expectations are for the Baylor fan base. Like, what do you want this program to be? Like, do you want it to be Stanford, where you're consistent, you're good, you'll rise to the occasion every once in a while? Or are you trying to be what are you wanting to be? And if I had a firm understanding of that, then maybe I could have a better time of analyzing this team because it confuses me, honestly.
Look, the Baylor's next few games, and we'll take another call here in a second, coming to you, Kyle, in 1 second. But Baylor's next few games are UCF, Texas Tech, Cincinnati, Iowa State, and Houston. And all of those teams are vulnerable.
Every one of them.
Every single one of them. So you could get something going, but this team needs to show that.
Yeah, and that's
next week against UCF is going to be maybe the second or third toughest game on their schedule just based on the circumstances.
Yeah, I mean, first road game got it. Hopefully Blake's back. Yeah, I mean that's something in a hostile environment.
First road game for the team in the new conference.
10-year anniversary for
they're going to honor that team. So there's going to be a lot of outside factors that are going to light up the bounce house. By the way, I'll be there. We're doing shows there Thursday and Friday next week. I will be there.
I won't.
Me and Jack. Yes. I'm sorry, Garrett.
It's all good.
Yeah, Jack and I will be there. Kyle from South Texas. Kyle, thanks for your call.
Paul, I'm disappointed in you guys tonight. You guys are propping up Aranda. I mean, geez. I mean, why are you guys holding him up right now? I mean, earlier in the week he was at Rudy's. His words were, he has the players right now to win a championship. So in his evaluation, we have the players to win a championship. So he has totally misrepresented what the evaluation is on the players that we have. Let's stay on Aranda. The pregame motivation was the Godfather. I mean, listen, maybe that would motivate Smokey, but for 20-year-olds and 21-year-olds, I don't think that connected, He did an interview between the third and fourth quarter. He said, they asked him, what do you need to do? And he says, well, we had energy and we lost it and we need to get that back and we need to execute. He was acting like the game was 17-14. He should have looked in that camera and said, we're getting our asses whooped tonight and we need to turn it around. The ABC, the announcers called out Baylor and they said, it looks like they have no spirit. There's no fight in them. I mean, everyone else is seeing that. I can't believe that inside the building at Baylor right now, that the coaches are not looking around the room and saying, is this the guy that's going to lead us and get us through this time? I think Aranda could be a great defensive coordinator, but he's not the guy that's going to galvanize this program and lead us out to where we need to get to. And you're asking, what does Baylor want to be? We want to win championships. We want to win conference championships, okay? I think we've won enough to say that's where we want to be. And anything less than that, I mean, if that's not what we're all shooting for, I mean, Mac needs to apologize to the family. I mean, it looks terrible. The people who played the best tonight were the students. God bless the students at Baylor who came out, supported, and were cheering the whole game. Please, Aranda, this has got to turn around fast, and this is not looking like it's going to be.
And look, Kyle, I wouldn't call it propping it up. And thanks for your call. I wouldn't call it propping it up. I'm just trying to give a realistic expectation of what's going to happen. Because he is the guy who did win the conference championship 2 years ago. So I do think that they're going to hang with him. Now, look, if things get really bad, then you may be put in a situation where you can't.
Right.
So I think they have, and we said that they have missed on guys. They have absolutely missed on some guys and not evaluated that right, or they've not developed them the right way. And if it's both, then that's another problem they have to address. But there is a talent gap between them and Texas. And if you want to win the conference, then you have to be as good as everybody in the conference. And I don't know that they are. We'll see as they move down the schedule where they are in that. But right now, the team that looks like it's going to win the conference is Texas, and they're not anywhere close to them. So they've got a roster problem. They have a roster problem for sure.
And as far as like the statement of Aranda, and I believe the first statement came during Smokey's interview when he was talking about the roster, and he said, "Yeah, I believe we have a champion." And look, man, I thought that was a bold statement to say the least. One that I clearly disagreed with and still disagree with. I think they have some young talent, but they are far, far away from a championship caliber roster. And as far as the energy goes, and when he mentioned there with that interview in the third quarter, that was something that really stuck out to me when Aranda was asked that, and he said the energy again, and I was like, dude, like that's something I can't excuse that for him. I can't excuse that for the coaching staff. I really don't understand it. It's boggling my mind. And I know a lot of teams take on the persona and everything of the head coach. And if that's I don't know how you fix that. I don't know how you fix that.
I don't know. Look, but I think, and look, I don't know how many games they're going to win right now. If I look at down this schedule, I'm just telling you that there's teams with problems too, right? There's other teams with problems. All right, let's go to San Antonio. Who we got here? I'm sorry, the call screen and the caller ID are two different things. Who we got in San Antonio?
We got Mark.
Hey, Mark
in San Antonio.
All right, thank you, Mark.
First of all, I really like your guys' show. I appreciate the interviews and the live talks that you guys always do. But tonight was really disappointing. It was really bad. It was terrible. I mean, like, how do the coaches put a product like that on the field after the 6 or 5 game slide we had last year? And it continues. It was through the summer. They promised us a changed product. And we were a whole hog on there. Especially after Air Force, we had that terrible loss, and the O-line was just atrocious, and they said that they were going to fix that. But, just QB situation still hasn't figured itself out. You can see, when Shapen and Sawyer were out there, they were trying, they showed fire, but it wasn't enough,
Yeah.
And so just terrible. Love the show, and keep on, guys.
Thanks, Mark. Appreciate your call. Yeah, this is not as bad as it gets right now, but it's not far off, because the only one you've been able to muster in the last 8 games now.
Been 8, now
8 games. You're 1-7. Your last 8 is Long Island, and you didn't
look
get
good.
any style points doing it against in your guarantee game. So those are things that they've got. I mean, there are a lot. Look, they've got talent assessment issues, especially along the offensive line and in the secondary. Like, those are the things that are really, the offensive line is really hurting them. I mean, look, 2 sacks right off the bat in the game. You've already got a quarterback in Sawyer Robertson who's banged up and toughened through it and inexperienced and all of that. Your starting quarterback is out and not playing in the game. So you've got to put more of an emphasis on protection, and it just wasn't there tonight from the jump. from the jump, they had a problem on that. So there are numerous issues that they have to address, but big picture issues is 1, talent, and 2, enthusiasm, or maybe 1 and 1, because they don't have, and they're not playing with fire.
No.
And the coaches haven't figured out how to give them that fire. And I don't think Dave Aranda is unable to do it, because he has done it before, but this particular group of guys and Coach Aranda are not hitting that level.
No.
And so they've got to figure that out.
Yeah.
Or they're gonna be 2-10.
I don't know how you diagnose that and fix it, especially if it's something that is what appears to be ingrained throughout the roster. I don't know how you fix that, how you turn that over. I don't know who else on the staff. Like, we don't really get an opportunity to engage with anybody on the staff, so we don't know like who are the guys that bring the energy, because you can't, like, you got to think that there's at least a few people on the staff that could counter it, like personality wise, that bring that energy and stuff. So it's really hard. I just don't know how you fix energy. I don't know how you fix that.
So CW Austin, answer the question: what is it? NIL, recruiting, the coaches, all of it. We can't get better if we don't have an honest assessment. Look, the coaches are not hitting the notes with the players they need to, right?
No.
And we mentioned recruiting, I think, is an issue right now.
It's been an issue, yeah.
Now, NIL, I can honestly tell you nothing about. I have no idea. None of us have any idea. The one thing I wish, that's what I love about when I cover the Cowboys and pro sports, like, I know exactly how much money Dak Prescott makes.
Exactly, yeah.
I don't have to, none of it, that's the first, the first thing I would fix in any NIL law is cut the BS and just tell us what you're getting. Good for you. I'm glad you're getting money. It's not like the way they're trying to walk this line of doing it both ways, right? Of it's hush hush. We don't want people to know, but it's also legal. No, it's not
yeah, it's weird, man.
Yeah. Nobody's stealing cable. Right?
Yes.
I don't understand why. Honestly, when you ask questions about NIL, I can only tell you rumors and things that I've heard. And I don't really like to do that because I'm not going to be up here gossiping. I do know that we've heard from a source that they feel that they're in a good place moving forward on NIL, and you're going to see more things with NIL moving forward. But to this point, that's the first thing that I've heard in 2 years of NIL being, or 3 now, 2 years, 2 full years of it being legal. And so I don't know. There are things that they have to get better at, I'm sure, but I can't answer that NIL question. But yes, they have a recruiting problem.
Yes.
They have it because they've missed. So that means, yes, they have a recruiting problem. They have a transfer portal problem.
Definitely.
And so by that extension, yes, currently, yes, they have a coaching problem. Do they have coaches on the staff that can't figure it out? No, I don't believe that. But it's not easy to figure it out in the situation that you're in. So they've got to figure a lot of those things out. And you can't, here's the thing about the recruiting problem. That's only going to fix itself later. It's not going to fix itself now as far as this season goes. That's a long-term issue and not a today issue as far as how do you go from losing 38-6 to Texas to going on the road for the first time in a hostile environment at UCF, who's about to lose to Kansas State, by the way. How do you go down there and get some energy and take one away from somebody? Recruiting doesn't help that today. That's a tomorrow issue.
No, but another thing on the flip side with recruiting is you're never going to be able to establish any momentum or draw any interest if you keep playing the way you're playing now. What recruit is going to watch it and say, oh, yeah, I want to go be a part of that? You got to fix the product on the field first and then address the recruiting, because I personally believe both of those go hand in hand. But as far as the question in general, I think it's probably all of the above. And the reason I would say that and throw NIL in there is because I feel like it's been established that Baylor slow rolled it because of how the state laws, they played it safe, and now they're starting to catch up with everybody else that we think, so I believe it's all of the above in general.
Yeah, it's all the above. Look, I know everybody's trying to tell us to be honest. Like, I'm telling you exactly honestly how it is.
Like, I'm what we're told.
Yeah, I don't like what we're told. And look, I think this team has, like, I'm not going to be a guy who ever stands up and says to fire a coach this early in the season. I'm just not.
I would, but I mean, I don't think this one draws.
Here's the thing. It's not there yet.
No,
it's not there yet. But it's not like it's not there.
Oh,
right?
it's warming.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's not that, like, it's warming into the point where you may have to consider making a coaching change. But I do think that you have to make an assessment of the whole thing. And the problem is that, Baylor needs to be a place where the other thing they need, and honestly, I think that they actually do have a coach that would want to stay here forever,
yes,
and not go, but he's got to get better at what he's doing, and so I'm not going to call for that. I'm not going to do it until it's like kind of.
Well, okay,
but they need to get better in a hurry.
Here,
no joke.
Okay, so you followed the ACC fairly well. Okay, how long did Dabo have to build Clemson?
He had a little bit longer because they were so mad at Tommy Bowden. But, I mean, he had to take over in the middle, and then they went on a rally. So he didn't have – he had some – but they were good, though.
Yeah.
They just weren't great. So what is so kind of confusing about what's gone on the last 3 years at Baylor is that COVID year, you throw it out for everybody.
Absolutely.
Like, you throw – look, I know the team won a national championship in 2020, but, again – like, they were probably going to anyway.
Most conferences didn't even, nobody even played the same amount of games.
No, it was such a weird year. So, so 2020, not a fair assessment. His first full season, he takes a team that's pretty dang talented and has the best season in Baylor history.
Right.
So we're just 2 years removed from that, and I just can't. I think the biggest thing I'm trying to wrap my head around is how do they go from that and get no momentum and then get to this? And, like, what decisions they made to get to that point. And so that's where they are right now. And I do not agree with his, like, we've got the talent here to win.
Yeah, I don't either.
I don't think they do right
true.
Now, could they? Yes, because they have before. And the fans demand that. All right. We could spin ourselves in circles about this forever, but we're not going to. So, nothing is not look. And so again, I don't know what Baylor, like, honestly, I don't know how to fix it right now.
I don't either.
I don't know how to fix it right now. I don't know what they're going to do long term, but this is a team that they're in a world of hurt right now.
Some dire straits.
Yeah. Because you would have thought if anything could have gotten them fired up, it's the last time you're playing Texas.
That
bleeping
exactly.
Texas. Like that was about it. Like, yeah, I know the students showed out really, really well, but they were playing in a hostile environment in their own stadium too.
Yeah, I think everybody who was level-headed was expecting that to happen.
Oh yeah. Look, here's the thing, and I'm not knocking Texas on this.
Hell
because
no.
They have a huge T-shirt fan base. I mean, everybody can tell people, like, oh, they're T-shirt fans. Believe me, you want those T-shirt fans. You need T-shirt fans.
Yes.
Everybody needs T-shirt fans. They're kind of annoying, sure. But when the T-shirt fans get the opportunity, they're going to show up. And that's kind of what's happening with Texas right now. And it happened, look, I'm not saying all of them were there. I mean, like they're fans that have stopped coming up to Baylor because they didn't want to watch back and forth games with a team they've always considered beneath them.
Yes.
They didn't want to watch the back and forth. They didn't want to watch them lose. They were mad about it. Well, now they're good again and they're coming out. So you better get used to that burnt orange going everywhere, because it's going to be, because they have a huge, gigantic fan base. And that was the game I thought you would have some fire from the team, and it was there in little spurts, but
it's never been consistent.
But it's never been consistent. They've not been able to take it from the opening kickoff to zeros.
No.
They just haven't. And you can't win like that. All right, thanks for everybody who's watched the show. I know everybody's angry. Justifiably, you're angry. Your team is 1-3. They have not looked good for any kind of reasonable stretch. But
yeah, I wish we had something to make you feel better. But
I don't know. Like, again, I have no answers for you other than there are things this coaching staff has to fix and get better at, and we'll see if they do. We'll see if they do. So that's going to do it for us. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a great and safe weekend. We're back again on Monday with our regular show, 3 to 6, and, of course, the triple option with me from 1 to 2 p.m. This is Sikkim 365's postgame show.